This is Wilson Cole, and I am president of Adams, Evans, and Ross and manager of ELOC Global, which also owns Recruiting and Staffing Solutions magazine. And I am joined here with our brand manager, Allie Cole, and my lovely daughter. Hey, Allie.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, it's fine. You know, today we're going to talk about kind of going a little bit old school with a new school twist. And this is on lead generation. And, you know, there are times where, you know, setting up the SEO, setting up your funnels for people, you know, kind of that inward lead generation where they pick up the phone and call you is great. And that is very, very effective. But there comes a time where you just got to grab the bull by the horns and you have to go out and kill something. And so it's in the old days, you didn't have this inward marketing as much. You more projected out, you cast that net, and you brought it back in. And we used to use telemarketing. And telemarketing is still effective, but it's less effective than it has been in the past. And part of that is these God-blessed robocalls that just spit it out, spit it out, spit it out, and there's no interpersonal connection there. Now, I'm going to kind of pull back a little bit of the curtain on what we do with our telemarketing, and why a lot of times they'll say, Wilson, you are everywhere. Well, I'm going to share a secret with you. It's our telemarketers, and it's really not me on the phone. But we'll get into that. But we're also going to do a little brush over on how we use LinkedIn to set up appointments and help close some deals. But just, you know, brand awareness in that inward bound calls, but also where you can reach out and grab somebody. So, Allie, why don't you give us an overview on the LinkedIn, and I'll do the overview on the telemarketing because that's what I've done for 30-some-odd years. So, LinkedIn, how do you go out and find those leads via using LinkedIn, using social media aspects, but also reaching out and pulling them in?
Well, LinkedIn's a really good place to start with business marketing because when people are on LinkedIn, they're thinking about business. People don't usually post pictures of their family up on LinkedIn. So you already have people in that mindset, and you can really target who you're talking to when you use InMail, when you can connect with people, because when you can just post things that are very relevant to the people you're trying to speak to on your LinkedIn. But if you would like to contact people, you can really get down to the nitty-gritties of how long someone's been with the company, what position they hold, what company they're with. You can really narrow it down to make sure you're getting to the right people that are the decision makers for what you're looking for. And so this can really help, and you can target, oh, we're both UGA alum, and you can have that commonality and maybe start a conversation with that commonality and then segue it into, well, I have this wonderful product that I think might help you and your company.
Well, and that's something that you and I have talked about in the past. LinkedIn, you know, allows us to put what we feel is hot in the market, but it also allows us to watch those prospects and customers on what they're posting. You know, in utilizing the groups that we do, I've made it a point to, I belong to one recruiter group out on Facebook. And there was somebody that had posted, oh my God, you know, these guys, I go all the way through interview, and now they're saying they already had the candidate. Well, that gave me the segue to legitimately reach out to them and go, don't offer to discount your price. You are owed 100% of that fee, and walked him through what that process would be. Now, hopefully he's going to get it resolved on his own, but if not, then it will be a new Adams, Evans, and Ross client, and hopefully I gave the group value. But what you guys do over on the LinkedIn side, not only are you pushing our information out, but you guys are watching what your connections are talking about, engaging them on that prospect. What would be, you know, some of the examples on what you guys have done over there?
Well, one of the main things that we watch is just where are the pain points, so to speak, of our client. What are they talking about? What's making them unhappy with the recruiting or staffing fields, and where we can help. Where can we be a service? Like what you said, if we hear someone complaining about a backdoor hire or something like that, how can we help them?
Okay. And the neat thing about this, guys, is LinkedIn will allow you in the telemarketing way that we do it to where you can have, and I don't want to say admin people, but basically an account executive that you're paying $50,000 to $100,000 to probably needs to be focused on major clients, needs to be focused on well-qualified leads and making the closes. But watching what people are talking about on LinkedIn, starting those conversations, setting up those appointments, if you have a process, it doesn't take senior level people to do that to be amazingly effective. And so it becomes, in my opinion, a strategic advantage because you're able to take a much lower cost of employee and assign them to that versus your heavy closer that's closing all the deals. And that leads into how we use telemarketing. You know, these robocalls drive me nuts. And I think at some point the U.S. government is going to step in and there's going to be some things that are going to have to take into account because it affects everybody. One thing I don't think that they're going to affect is how we telemarket. Because what we do is we have a live person that makes the call. And if I were to sit on the phone, I can make 100 calls a day. I'm going to find 3 clients that are possibly interested. One of them is going to become a client now. One of them is going to become a client later. You know, it's kind of that 3% out of 100 rule. What we find is we have that telemarketer call out, but times have changed. You know, back in 30 years ago, we used to be able to get the person on the phone. Now you're going to go to voicemail. What we do is when that telemarketer on 80% of the calls goes to somebody's voicemail, they press a button that leaves my voice or our senior salespeople's voice and has them call back. What that does is that just took that $100,000 hit it out of the park salesperson that you have. It just replicated him. Now, it's not a computer-generated call. The person is actually calling out, but when he gets the voicemail, he leaves that voice, and it's, hey, this is Wilson. I'm with Adams, Evans, Ross. Call me back if you have a need. So now that rep is calling back. Now, we've talked in the past with this, when you're talking and leaving voicemails, you can almost have a progressive conversation to where you target this group of people and you have 3, almost like 3 sales letters. You have 3 voicemails that walk them down that aisle. We use the same thing as well. But what it allows our telemarketing staff to do is they've in essence literally replicated me, and you can tie that into the other things. Now, if you want to talk to Allie about either doing some LinkedIn marketing with her group, we have LinkedIn marketers that can generate and find leads. She also has, we have a call center that we drink our own Kool-Aid. So it's the same people that I'm utilizing. Just over the years, they were so good, we just hired them and we created our own call center. But they can make those calls out for you and drop your voicemail or your sales rep's voicemail and help build those leads. And so reach out to Allie at elocglobal.com. That's ALLY at ELOCglobal.com. And Allie, how do you want to wrap up this ending meeting on some old school and some new school lead generation tactics?
I think the biggest takeaway with this is just make sure you're targeting the right people. No one's ever mad about a message that they needed to hear. But the thing that really sets good telemarketing and good marketing apart from those horrible robocalls we all hate is I cannot stand when I get the telemarketing call that's talking about my generic back pain that I need to Venmo someone about that I clearly have never had. That's frustrating. But if you're having a need and someone can see that and can help you, people don't get mad at that. And I think that's the biggest distinction, is just make sure you're targeting the right group when marketing.
You know, in the old days, when we used to talk about, marketing messages, and I'll leave everybody on this note, but if you had one thing that you could have, and I'm going to ask you this, Allie, because I don't think you know the answer, so it's going to make me look smart. If you could open up a restaurant anywhere in the world and you could have one thing, what would you want for that restaurant?
As far as food or what?
Just any one thing.
Mac and cheese. I don't know.
Okay. And it's kind of a trick question, because that's kind of where everybody goes. Well, you'd want, the greatest, food, the greatest chef. No, I want a hungry audience. And so that is talking exactly about what you're talking about, is you want your audience to be hungry for what you have. So list selection is equally as important. And that was one thing I didn't cover. And so I am glad that you pointed that out, because if you're calling out to collection folks and you're calling their sales staff for staffing firms, we're going to make a lot of people mad. Where we would call out owners or controllers, collection managers. So list selection is equally as important. So thanks for sharing that insight. Allie, that will wrap up this issue. And if you want to work with Allie and her team over there on the lead generation side, just reach out. We'd love to work with you. It's so much cheaper than you could ever imagine on utilizing some of these resources, and the ROI is through the roof. Thank you, Allie. We'll talk to you next week.